and I collapsed on the floor. They had no mercy whatsoever. I was taken out of the cell, and I was placed over next to this large pit of fire, raging flames, hundreds of feet in the air. And this is where I first saw people. There were people actually burning, literally burning in hell. It was not metaphorical or allegorical fire. It was real, literal fire. And the people were screaming. It was so loud and deafening to hear all these people scream. And the most awful sight I can't even really describe to you. There were all kinds of creatures around this perimeter. You know, deformed, twisted-looking creatures. There were snakes and maggots and creatures that were large, 12 and 13 feet tall, and some small. Everything had a distinct evilness about it. I wouldn't want to go back there for 5 seconds. If anybody could see it for just that amount of time, they would change real quick. The fear level in hell is so intense. It's so far beyond anything I can describe. I felt completely isolated, lonely, hopeless. There's no one going to come rescue you, no one to protect you. There's no cavalry coming over the hill to protect you. You're alone there. There's no angels, there's no God. Is the most horrific thing anyone can ever imagine. You wouldn't want your worst enemy to end up in hell. Hell is a real place. You want to avoid it at all costs.
And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Matthew 10:28. For what is a man profited, if he shall gain the whole world, and lose his own soul? Matthew 16:26.
But it's the most important question we could ever ask. What happens to us when we die? Is there a real heaven and a real hell? Take a look.
I actually saw souls screaming, crying, with no flesh, no blood or no organs. They didn't have hair up on their head. And they would cry and they would weep, but no tears would come.
Mary Kay Baxter knows hell is real. She visited hell repeatedly over a period of 30 days. Mary Kay Baxter says people really do need Jesus to save them from hell. And Jesus showed her the horrors of hell through miraculous visions.
Everyone that Christ showed me knew why they were in hell. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 people. I'm talking about multitudes cast into hell.
Baxter says the whole point of her experience was to keep people out of hell.
And many times Jesus cried in hell, and tears would run down his face, and he would look and he'd say, "For these I died, but it's too late."
My spirit just completely went down a black tunnel, and I saw total blackness. The tunnel was like a spiral. I heard screams and I heard moans, and they were very real to me. And the next thing that happened is I went directly back up to my body. I believe that I died.
When you die, where will you go? Michelle and Heather will tell you it's one of 2 places, heaven or hell. What determines our eternal destination? Heather says God took her to heaven because she's a born-again believer. Michelle's afterlife experience was clearly the opposite. But why?
I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in a devil. I didn't believe in hell. I didn't believe in heaven. So I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't think about that. I just wanted to end it.
But Michelle will emphatically tell you it didn't end.
Hell is a real place. It's not a make-up fairy tale. It's not something that religion is made up to try to scare you. I know that I didn't imagine it. I believe that I was only dipped in the very tip of it. It was very obvious that whatever I heard, these screams and moans, these people were in pain and anguish.
Jesus Christ's own words say that angels will weed out those who do evil and will throw them in the fiery furnace where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Christ goes on to say, the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. And how do you get to the kingdom? Jesus clearly answers that question too.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Michelle heard that message.
Jesus Christ is my everything. He spared me so that I could tell people about this. Other people go off into eternity every day, and they get in a car wreck, and if they don't have Jesus Christ in their life, they're going to go to hell. And they don't get a second chance. A lot of people think, I'm a good person, you know. I don't do this, I don't cheat, I don't steal, and that's how Satan is so deceptive, because he'll make you think, well, you're okay, there's nothing wrong with you, you know, or you don't need God or whatever. And there's so many good people that are going to go to hell if they don't turn their lives over to Christ.
Jesus described hell as an unquenchable fire, Matthew 3:12, a place of eternal fire, Matthew 25:41, eternal punishment, Matthew 25:46, and as a place of torment, fire, and agony, Luke 16:23-24. Jesus taught specifically about hell many times in his ministry. Matthew 5:22, 29:30, 10:28, 18:9, 23:15, 33. Mark 9:43, 47. Luke 12:6, 16:23.
One night and went down to a little market, going inside to purchase some things. And on the way in to that market, I met a gentleman coming out the door, and an argument erupted, and before I knew it, I had just hit him, knocked him down, and he fell into a stack of bottles. The bottles bursted, and immediately he leaped up with a broken bottle and began to stab at me. I lifted my left arm to try to stop the blow, and the bottle actually severed the biceps muscle, the major arteries in my arm, and I was bleeding to death in just a matter of seconds. But full of anger and hatred and rage, I kept fighting and kept bleeding. My little son was screaming. He was hysterical. But the man that ran the store came over and said, if you don't get to a hospital, you'll bleed to death in just a few minutes. So he actually took me in my own automobile to the hospital, and when we entered the emergency room, I was barely conscious. And as the medical attendants began to work on me, I could hear their voices, and I could hear them saying, we can't help him. He'll have to be transported to another hospital. Probably will lose the arm. And as they loaded me into an ambulance, my wife had arrived by that time and got in the ambulance with me. But as they pulled out of the parking lot of that hospital, a young paramedic looked down into my face, and I could barely see him. I was so weak. But he said, sir, you need Jesus Christ. And I didn't know Jesus. I didn't know what he was talking about. So my reaction to that was to begin cursing. And again, he stated to me, you need Jesus. And as he was talking to me, it appeared like the ambulance literally exploded in flames. I thought it had actually blown up. It filled with smoke, and immediately I was moving through that smoke as if